Now, red states continue to be a real test of our democracy. The latest political dilemma is redistricting. Y'all know I keep railing about this, also known as gerrymandering. This is the decennial process of redrawing voting districts. What's supposed to be a purely democratic practice implemented to reflect the changes in our communities has become anything but. Legislators are using gerrymandering to carve out districts that keep the people that they want in and those who they don't want out. And it's no surprise that those caught up in the crosshairs of this political mess are mostly people of color. Here to help dissect the latest in this quagmire is Michael Waldman, the president of the Brennan Center for Justice, a key law and policy institute working to check and balance gerrymandering and ensure voting and elections are fair for everyone. Michael, it is such an honor to have you on tonight. Thank you so much for being here. I have been talking a lot about gerrymandering and putting up pictures of some of the crazy looking districts and just sharing with folks how undemocratic it all is. And Texas has been at the center of a lot of big issues lately, but certainly I think about Texas immediately when I consider how gerrymandering is unfolding all across this country. The Lone Star State has seen a surge in a suburban demographic with growing diversity of people of color, and obviously those people tend to also be more liberal voters. But Republicans are doing their best to limit their political power. So I would love you to start off this evening by talking to us about how Republicans have used congressional maps to circumvent the changing demographics in Texas and certainly beyond.
Well, you are exactly right, and it's a pleasure to be on with you. What we're seeing in Texas and in other states is a real challenge to our institutions of democracy, to the values of democracy, and to having a representative democracy that really looks like the country as it is right now. As you said, every 10 years under the Constitution, there's a census, and legislatures redraw the lines for both congressional seats and the legislature. And gerrymandering is kind of as old-fashioned a thing as you have in the United States. It was not invented last week. Both parties in the past have done it, but right now it is Republicans who control Texas and other states with unified party control who are drawing maps to benefit themselves and to choke off representation for the emerging electorate, for the fast-growing Black and Latino and Asian communities. All the population growth in the United States came in the South and the Southwest, and about 95% of it was these communities of color. So the legislatures that come out of this redistricting ought to reflect that. But in Texas especially, there are districts being drawn with precision, with computer-like precision, to carve out Black voters and Latino voters and Asian voters and make sure that they don't have a voice. And this will last not only next year, but if it's not struck down by the courts, it could last for a decade.
Now, of course, when we talk about this, Republicans say, oh, well, you know, we just get to play the game, and the game allows us to, when we're in power, be able to draw the districts as we see fit to preserve our party power. But I believe, and I think most people paying attention, that this is really about race at its core. And it seems like the Justice Department agrees. So the Justice Department filed a lawsuit last week against Texas for its redistricting plans. And Attorney General Merrick Garland said that these new political maps actually discriminate against Black and Latino voters. So could you talk to me about the details of DOJ's lawsuit? And in your opinion, does it have any teeth?
Well, I think it does have teeth. I think they make a very strong case. What they're saying is that it's deliberate discrimination. It's not only the consequence of these maps, but that was the intent. And the challenge, of course, is they may have the facts, they may have the legal arguments, they may even win in the lower courts, although the Court of Appeals for that part of the country is pretty conservative. But when these cases get to the U.S. Supreme Court, it gets very partisan, very fast. there's something of a loophole that's been put in the law, in the way we read the Constitution by the Supreme Court. There was a very serious legal challenge to gerrymandering, to partisan gerrymandering, to drawing these lines just to benefit the Democrats or just to benefit the Republicans. And the Supreme Court in 2019 said, you know what? It's too hard for us to come up with a way to do this. Courts can't even hear these cases anymore, federal courts. So racial gerrymandering, however, is still illegal. Discrimination is still illegal. So when a state like Texas gets sued for racial discrimination and racial gerrymandering, what they say is, oh, gee whiz, this isn't racial gerrymandering. It's good old-fashioned partisan gerrymandering. We're just trying to hurt the Democrats, you know, and that's the American way. And the big question is, are the justices, are the judges going to let them get away with that old switcheroo?
Well, you know, I will always want to remind folks that the reason that we are here right now is because the Supreme Court actually gutted the pre-clearance clause of the Voting Rights Act, where the Department of Justice would have previously had the opportunity to look at these maps first and say whether they approve them or not, and be able to make determinations around whether they felt discriminatory and they needed to go back and redraw them, etc. But now that piece doesn't exist, and at this point, Congress is languishing on doing something to patch that up and to fix that. But we're going to come back to that issue. I want to, while I have you, though, move to something else that you guys have been working a lot on, and that is dealing with voter suppression. So you know, the map in question in Texas is one thing, but the state has also come under fire because of its laws that appear to support voter suppression. So Texas is one of 19 states to have passed legislation this year, which makes it more difficult for Americans to actually go and vote. So tell us about the effort there to restrict voters' access, and how is that targeting people of color?
Well, you are so right. Look, what did we have in 2020? It was a really remarkable thing. Despite the pandemic and despite voter suppression, we had the highest voter turnout since 1900. And in Texas and everywhere else, it was a very secure election. What was the response? Donald Trump's big lie of a stolen election, the insurrection driven by that big lie, and as you say, 19 states passing 33 new laws to make it harder for people to vote, and those laws are uncannily targeted at black and brown voters. There's just no question about it. And this is the great fight unfolding in our country. And it is up to Congress. While these states are rushing forward to pass these restrictive laws, Congress has the power, legally and constitutionally, to stop it cold, to act, to protect voting rights. What they need is the political will. What they're facing in both, as you say, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, which would restore the Voting Rights Act, the most effective in many ways civil rights law of all time, and the Freedom to Vote Act, which sets national standards on things like vote by mail and early voting. Those bills passed the House. They have the majority of the Senate in support. They've been blocked by the minority in a filibuster. It's up to Congress, up to the Democrats, to decide, are they going to do something about it? And today, there's a lot of action on Capitol Hill. Senator Warnock gave a tremendously eloquent speech saying, we need to act and act now. I should tell you that the Brennan Center, along with the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund, sued the state of Texas because of the discriminatory voting laws. But we need federal action, federal laws. That's the only real solution to protect people's voting rights and fight against racism in voting.
Yep, so there's always some action going on the Hill. And for those who've been watching this show and just following current affairs, knows that we have been trying to get some voting rights legislation passed in the Senate, because the House has already passed both John Lewis Act as well as H.R. 1. And so the House has done what it can do. And now we're sitting around waiting on Joe Manchin, frankly, and Kyrsten Sinema to get their acts together around the filibuster and at least getting rid of the filibuster for the sake of preserving our democracy on this one vote. and you can give as many eloquent speeches as you want, and all the advocates can go and advocate and rally and lobby as much as they want. But it just doesn't seem like we can put all of our hopes and dreams on the U.S. Senate right now, because they haven't done anything since, what was it, like 2015 when the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act? And they're not doing anything right now about it. So I wonder, could you share with us, you mentioned Brennan Center actually has pending litigation against Texas over their Senate Bill 1. And I'm curious, can you just share with us a little bit about, how groups like yours that are having legal challenges where you're just going in and saying, we're going to go ahead and sue the state ourselves because the United States Senate isn't doing a thing. What are you expecting for the outcome there? And what are some other remedies that advocates can be supporting outside of just getting the Senate to do something when they're not right now?
Well, we certainly think we have a very strong case. When you look at the Texas law that was passed, it targets election officials with criminal penalties for trying to help people to be able to vote. And it makes it so that it's a criminal penalty imposed on local officials if they send out absentee ballots and that kind of thing. And over and over again, the practices that are targeted in this law are the practices used by Black and brown Texans. So as I say, we think we have a very strong case, but we know that the courts right now are not always friendly to voting rights. We have in the U.S. Supreme Court a new supermajority, a 6-3 vote that we've seen on other matters that may not be very friendly. So the courts are one avenue. There's organizing to be done. There's making sure that you're registered to vote, making sure that people help others get registered, help others vote. But in truth, it's very hard to out-organize a gerrymander, for example. I will say that, it's certainly understandable to have despair when looking at Congress and its lack of action, at least in my view, on this. But I will say that right now, today and tomorrow, is where the action is. They're deciding whether to make an exception to the filibuster for this. They did it last week for the debt ceiling, to raise the debt ceiling. That was the right thing to do. But if they can do it for that, they certainly can do it to save the vote and to save American democracy.
And let's hope that they do, because I have to say that the two senators in question here seem to want to do all the things that have to do with debt or taxes, but very little to actually lift up the power of the people. So we will be following that. And, I want to end on this note, Michael. I'm so glad that you're here and that you started off reminding us about, kind of where we've come in this whole fight, and the fact that it's still the buck ends with the Senate, even though you're suing and you're trying to do, what you can do. You've reminded us that even in the wake of the worst pandemic we've ever experienced in our lifetime, the people showed up to the polls. And it's because the people want to participate. And so all of us who are paying attention to this, don't let your foot up off the brake of holding your lawmakers accountable to doing something up on the Hill, because the power of the people will prevail despite what else is going on around us if we can access the ballot. So appreciate you for being here. Michael Waldman from the Brennan Center for Justice. Thank you so much for the work that you are doing and for sharing it with us here on Amplified tonight.